Hey, 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 scrappy people! Tracy Reed here today, coming at you with a life crafted page, and we are starting in Silhouette because I have a little tutorial for you. I wanted to cut out these books so that they fold sort of like an advent calendar layout like I did for December Daily, but I didn't want to do it by hand because I'm terrible with an X-Acto knife and that's just too much work. So instead, I am drawing a path in Silhouette using the freehand tool, the one that draw smooth freehand tool, and I'm just drawing right around the outside edge of this book. It's okay if it's messed up a little bit because what we're going to do is we're going to fix it. So I've got this down and I'm going to go up here to simplify so that it removes a bunch of the points. Then I'm just going to use the adjust point tool, edit point tool, and I'm going to move these points and adjust them so that they are closer to the edge of the book. Now, not all of the books on this sheet are the same. There's two different books. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this outline, this cut, when I have it completed onto just the books that it matches. And then I'm going to do the same thing again, but I'm going to edit it for the other style book because they're pretty similar. So it's easier to just edit this path than it is to create a whole new path. Now you'll notice that I did not complete the path on the left hand side there. That way the Silhouette machine does not cut that edge and it opens up like a book instead of cuts out. So now that I've got that created, I'm going to duplicate it after I add in my cut and paste, or my print and cut lines so that I can print this paper out and cut it at the same time. So now I'm just going to edit this a little bit more and then I will copy and paste it across the page just to the books, like the full books on this page. So you can see that there are two different books. The ones on either side of that page or of that book are just slightly different. So I'm going to actually just copy this to the pages or the books where it's not different. And then I will go ahead and go in and edit it for the other one here in a second, but you can see I'm just copying and pasting, Control C, and actually if you hit Control F instead of Control V, it pastes right in front rather than paste a copy that's slightly offset. That way you can just click and drag it across the paper to the matching book. So now I've got all of these duplicated. You can see I turned off the paper so you can see them all. And now I can go ahead and send this to my Silhouette, my print and cut. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to print it and then I will send it to Silhouette to cut it. And then once I have it print and cut, I'm going to actually go in real life here in a second and I'm going to show you how it cuts out. Make sure when you're printing from Silhouette you go to photo and best because its automatic fill is to just normal and plain paper and that won't give you the best print. So now you can see that I have this book paper cut out and it just folds on the spine of every single book hyphen, and I'm just going to fold them all here for a second and then we're going to go back to Silhouette and I'm going to show you how to cut out your book covers in the shape of these books using that same Silhouette file. So now I've got all of these folded and I'm going to actually trim down this book paper because I like to do 5 by 8.25, so I had to trim off the edges and I'll back it with some cardstock so I can stick my photos on. All right, so now back in Silhouette, I'm going to zoom in so that we can see, and I'm going to delete that paper, and I'm going to take the edit point tool, and I'm actually just going to drag the end point of the bottom to the top, and then you hit Control J or Command J, and it joins the whole cut into one outline shape. Then once you have all of them joined, you can just drag and drop your book covers or your photos or whatever it is that you're printing out to each of these each of these books, and then you can use the pan pattern tool to move them if you need to. So now I've got all of my books that I've read and my planned books printed out. We are in real life to finish this layout. I have already finished 5 of these books, and the rest are just planned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick down with the full amount of adhesive all of the books that I've already finished, and then the other ones I'm just tacking down so that I can move them around or replace them if I need to, like if I don't finish a book or if I finish one before I finish another one, just stuff like that. So on this side, I'm going to create a title, and I'm going to create a matching flip out card to the books. So first I'm going to stamp my title using this alphabet that I'm absolutely obsessed with. I forget what it's called. Monroe, maybe? I'm not sure. I will link it. But it is my favorite Citrus Twist stamped alphabet. It is so good. So this says first 12 of 2023. I used Catherine Pooler ink in Uptown, I believe. No, that doesn't look like that's what that says. We'll find out in a second. But I used a matching Catherine Pooler ink, and then this is actually the remnants of the bookmark that I had cut down. Oh, it is Uptown. The bookmark that I had cut down. So it's a 3x3, and I'm going to make it have a cardstock hinge so that it opens up to reveal my journaling and another little cluster of embellishments underneath. So I'm just using a cardstock hinge that's just slightly shorter. And I'm going to back it in this yellow paper as well. Oh, I ran out of adhesive. Luckily, I have 2. So I'm going to adhere this to the back. Then I'll just trim it down with some scissors. And then I shouldn't have done it this way. Well, I guess it wouldn't have mattered. Maybe if I had turned the paper the other way. But what happens is I trim down the journal card that I'm going to use with this, and it's slightly too small. So I'm going to stick this right down to the paper, and then I will stick the journal card over the top of it. I'm just making sure it's nice and centered in between those two. I think of them as ribbons. They look like ribbons to me, but just centering it in between the two, being super fussy about it. And then I'm going to put down a journal card. I have to decide which journal card. So obviously I want one, since these are 3x4s and I need a 3x3, and I want one that can be trimmed down, which is basically only this one, but it works thematically as well. So I have trimmed it down, and you can see that I've trimmed it slightly too small. I think I just cut one line up when I should have measured, but I didn't, because have I mentioned that I'm a lazy scrapbooker? I am. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back this card with this yellow as well. The problem being that I don't have enough of a solid block of this pattern to back the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim this down, and then I'm going to cut it in half so that there is part at the top and part at the bottom. And then there will be a slight overhang of the card over the yellow on the right hand side, but I'm going to fix that down the line with some camouflaging stitching, because for some reason this year I am just hand stitching all the things. So I add some stitching to this as well, obviously. So I'm just going to glue this down in 2 pieces, making sure that I leave a little bit of a space there so that the folds easily. If you go too close to the crease, it will impede the folding of your hinge, and that makes it hard. See how it keeps popping open? I have to adjust the other yellow a little bit. So I decided to number all of these books, and of course I run out of ones. So I go back and I intersperse the blue ones the blue numbers from the other side of these alphabets. So every other one is white or blue. So I'm just going to go back and renumber half of these. Okay, so I got white numbers and blue numbers. I like the way that looks. Like, I felt when I was doing it like I was going to mess up the visual flow of those books, but I actually really like it. So now I'm going to add little holes to add some V stitching with my awl. I like to go all the way down one side and then go back and punch holes in between the holes that I made before on the other side. Then I added some burnt umber looking um, embroidery floss on that side, and then I added a few spots on these books as well. You can see it on, I think I did like 5 books, and I tried to make sure that some were horizontal, some were vertical, and they were all in different spots on the books just for visual interest. So I'm just going back and forth. You can see, super easy. It took me a little while, but it's not hard. There we go. Now, last thing I need to do is add in some embellishing on the inside of this flap. And also, I was feeling like I needed to add something to this page as a whole, but I decide not to. And the reason that I decide not to is because I really, really like the simplicity of the left or the right hand side versus the wildness, almost the lots of visual interest on the right hand side. I feel like the simplicity of the right hand side grounds the left hand side a little bit. I decided I needed another half circle here to make it look complete, so I'm doing this pink one. And then I'm going through the embellishments after this, trying to decide if I want to embellish this page or not. And I found this book that I felt like needed to go on this page. So I'm just going to take this small joys off and add the book instead, since they're basically the same size. Need to rearrange just slightly. And then that will be it for this page. If you enjoyed it, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Tracy M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. There's a link in the description box below to the Citrus Twist products that I used, and I will see you next time. All right, thank you.